shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from Tennessee. You know, I love Tennessee. We have firearms in Tennessee and we shoot them. So, going to chat with you a little bit today. Hopefully say something that's halfway intelligent. I'm sure there'll be some things that are not all that intelligent. You just have to take the good with the bad, don't you? Character like me. What am I going to talk about this week? Well, let's see. My Barbie doll collection? I guess not. I don't think I need to tell you all about that because you might get the wrong impression, right? Well, seriously, we're going to talk a little bit about Knob Creek, maybe a little bit about SAS, Cowboy action shooting. Had a lot of questions about that, as if I'm an expert, but I'll share a little bit with you on that. Some reloading things, gun of the week, of course, about choosing between guns, some of the purpose of my comparisons. What else we're going to talk about? Maybe my first centerfire revolver or handgun that I ever did have, that kind of thing. So we'll chat about a few things and see if any of it makes any sense. Oh, one thing I want to remind you of before I forget it is that, because I don't really have it on my list of things to talk about, is that I'm supposed to be interviewed by the one and only Tom Gresham, of Gun Talk TV, Gun Talk Radio, when I'm at the NRA convention in Pittsburgh in a couple of weeks. So I guess that would air the next day. He runs his show on Sundays, every Sunday. I forget, it's on an XM station. I never catch it anymore. It's on the XM radio. And I forget what's 166 maybe? I don't know. He may have moved around. Don't know. But I've just gotten ready to just go to this podcast, of course, and listen to him early in the mornings and catch his show like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever I get a chance to. I'll just play it while I'm working, when I'm there at the computer. So I haven't caught him on the radio in a long time, but I think it airs on every Sunday afternoon still. But anyway, he wanted to chat, and I gladly accepted, so we'll see if that works out. And anyway, just wanted to mention that. And by the way, obviously, I will be planning to be anyway at the in Pittsburgh at the NRA convention that Saturday. And you guys that are there, gals, guys, whatever, that are going to be at the convention, if you see me, be sure you say hi. I'm not hard to spot. At 6'8", one of the biggest, one of the ugliest people you will see in the convention hall. So can't miss me. But anyway, let's chat about a few things today and go from there. Most of you have probably already seen the footage we posted about Knob Creek machine gun shoot. Not all that long a video or that in depth or anything, but just wanted to give you kind of a feel for what goes on there. And we really didn't video as much as we had planned to in terms of some of the vendors and different things. We had some ideas. We'd throw a little humor and something. We just didn't do it. I don't know. We got so caught up in walking around and enjoying seeing things and a little bit of shopping here for ammo and that sort of thing. Ran into some knife dealers and just about bit on a knife or two. Restrained myself, but anyway, we just didn't get the camera out a lot of times when we really thought we would, but that's okay. We don't really see our job as bringing you Knob Creek, the complete story or anything. And in fact, as I think I mentioned on, I don't know, somewhere, comment or message to somebody that, they sell a video and they market, of course, that's pretty dramatic. Well, what would you call it? It's a very dramatic event, I'll just say that. And of course the day shoot and the night shoot especially, they've got some great video footage on that they sell, and you're really not, I don't know if supposed to is the correct word, but they kind of frown on anybody creating a great Knob Creek video, I think, because that's kind of their thing. So we kind of soft pedal it there. I don't want to get them upset with me. Just give you enough to show you what goes on there, and I want to always feel welcome to drag out a camera and give you a look at it whenever we go, if that's what we want to do. But isn't that quite an event? Those who have never even been to one, you can tell from the videos, and you can just log on to their website, Knob Creek, whatever it is. Just Google Knob Creek machine gun shoot, and it'll take you there. You can just tell that it's quite a unique event. Not that it's the only one, but there aren't many of those around the country, around the world. And it really speaks volumes, I guess, about people who are law-abiding people, which, of course, 99.9% of people are. That you can actually have an event like that way back in the hills, and lots of people show up with machine guns of various sorts. Not a one of them a criminal. I would bet big money on, and actually do it safely. So I don't know. It just speaks well. Just as the millions of people with carry permits walking around the United States with a sidearm or a pocket arm or whatever it might be. How many abuses of that do you hear about? Yeah. Of course, the left, in every single state where it comes as an issue up before the voters, they just drag out those same old weary stories about how it's going to be Dodge City on the streets and in the bars and in the restaurants, and someone's going to cut someone off in traffic, and there's going to be a gunfight just like the Wild West. Never happens. Virtually never happens. I don't know the stats on it. I know that they're so minuscule, the actual events, that they hardly register. I know for a long time there was like no event, by anybody that was carrying, had a carry permit. And then there was someone, I think it was actually maybe an off-duty policeman. It was the first one, and somewhere in Texas, I don't know, maybe Tennessee. It's just extremely rare. You couldn't even write out the decimal points, to represent it in terms of the number of people who carry, and of course the number of people who shoot and have guns. The actual percentage of abuse in that sense, particularly legal gun owners and law-abiding citizens, just virtually does not happen. So much to the chagrin of our folks on the left, or at least our anti-gunners. There are some people on the left that are not anti-gun. I do hear from a lot of those folks, and I've talked about that. They watch the videos and they chat with us every now and then. They're a little bit unique, but we need all the help we can get, don't we? So anyway, Knob Creek's a pretty interesting place. I guess I got off track there a little bit. Good thing it's my show, right? I could start talking about how to grow corn and plant potatoes, couldn't I, if I wanted to, right in the middle of a discussion about a machine gun shoot. The producer is not going to throw me off the air. Don't you love it, having this kind of power? Anyway, quite an event. Had a great time. We weren't there all that long. As I also mentioned, I think, in a comment, we didn't stay for the night shoot this time. And we probably will the next time. We just kind of vary it. Once you've seen it, I guess, but it's still fun. So, good old Knob Creek. You ought to try to make one of those sometime. The thing I was going to talk about, I didn't, was it's just so bizarre, so unique in so many ways. You have this huge gun show, too, in connection with it. I guess and then they have a really nice gun shop, a very well-stocked gun shop right there on the hill where the range is. It's better than most gun shops you've ever been in. And then, of course, they have a huge gun show going on right outside under a big pavilion. I don't know, it must be, acre or something, 2 acres. And, acre, yeah, I'm probably exaggerating. But anyway, you're walking by table after table of parts for machine guns, barrels, stocks, and machine guns. You will buy a BAR. You have to go through the paperwork, which can be extensive, but if you have the money, you can buy literally any machine gun that's out there, and it's there. So it's just really interesting. quite a few millionaires set up with just 3 or 4 tables, at that thing. I mean, that's a very expensive hobby with some of the guns. I mean, I saw, what was it last time we were there? Was a guy had 3 or 4, I think it was BARs and some other things, and you look at one, 35,000. Okay, what's this one? 42,000. So expensive hobby, but legal and quite interesting. I've had several people ask me about cowboy action shooting. Kind of interesting, I guess, because I have mentioned it over the last year or two, maybe a couple of times. Curious about how to get into it and what kind of guns you need and that sort of thing. It wanted me to do some mock stages, and videos and different things. That stuff is out there, videos and things, probably everywhere, I guess. That's how I, studied it back in just about in the pre-internet days. It was in the mid-90s, and I had a video I'd bought somewhere, and just, and I'd see maybe on TV occasionally on whatever shooting shows were around at that time, but there's some good stuff out there. You can buy videos on End of Trail, and I know different things of that nature. But anyway, let me talk about it just a little bit. And I haven't shot in a match for a couple of years, I guess. And it's always evolving. It's changing with different guns, popular guns and calibers that folks use. But let me just give you the real basics. Cowboy action shooting. I should have made some notes. Most of the shots you take in cowboy action shooting are kind of like what you see me do. They're shooting steel, most of it. And the way they score it's very simple. They score it based on whatever your time is going through the stage, and then any misses you have, add to your time. So say the stage takes most people about 60 seconds to get through it. If they don't miss anything and you miss a couple, I think it was 5 seconds are added for each miss that you have, because you only get 5. Say there's 5 plates somewhere or 5 somethings you're supposed to shoot, or one. Sometimes it's just one big plate of some sort, and you're supposed to hit it 5 times with your pistol, and you hit it 4 out of the 5, and so it's not like you don't reload and get that 5th one in. It's not like some other games. So you got one miss, and so it's 5 seconds to your time. So it's pretty easy for the scorekeepers to keep track of the score and everything. It's just a matter of time is what you're looking at, that final number. So targets are not that hard intentionally. Kind of like some of my range. Some of my range is not that hard, really. That's what makes shooting fun. Now, I have some challenging targets. It depends on what you're shooting and then how fast you're trying to shoot and all that. So I have a lot of different ranges and different sizes of targets. It's no fun just standing around throwing lead and not hitting anything. That was I mentioned when I talked about the long-range silhouette shooting, handgun shooting. One reason a lot of people never did come back. If you didn't catch that radio show, I talked about how unless you were a pretty good shot, you'd lose interest, because out of the 40 animals you're shooting at, they're so far out there that you might just hit 1 or 2 out of 40. And it's pretty easy to lose interest when you're doing that. So cowboy action shooting, when they set it up, they're pretty smart. So no matter who you are, if you have no experience with firearms, you're going to hit most of the time, I think I'm safe in saying. And you're going to have the fun of hearing that steel hit, things knocked around. Most of it you don't knock over. It's mostly just hanging, and you have spotters, like 2 spotters in each posse, as they call it, instead of squads, and or three spotters ideally, so you can break a tie. And they just count your misses. You're just shooting, and all they do is with their fingers just count your misses quietly as you're shooting, and then they tell the person keeping the score when you finish. 2 misses, they hold their fingers up. They don't shout it out. Hey, Harry missed 14 times. They just hold up their fingers or something, and as long as they all kind of agree, so it goes in the scorebook. So it's a pretty neat system. What you need, so the targets are close, and you're not having to perform acrobatics or anything. There are a lot of folks up there in years doing it, and so they don't have you running up and down high ladders or jumping over things, or crawling through little holes and crawling through barrels and things like that generally. So anybody can do it, and you do it for fun anyway. Maybe even if there is something you can't kneel down and get back up very well, so what? But there's just not a lot of that. getting started, it is kind of an expensive game to get into, or can be. I mean, even minimal level, depending on what you have. If you, because really you do need a shotgun, double barrel, or 1897 pump gun, unless that's changed. You need two pistols, really, two revolvers, and you need a rifle, a lever gun with firing a pistol cartridge. And you've got to be shooting lead bullets, no jacketed ammo. So right there you eliminate just the casual person, because there's a lot of guns there. You got to get some lead bullets, and if you have to buy those, it can get pricey. Most people doing it hand load, not everybody. So you need, now you can go expensive, or you can go inexpensive. You can get a couple of Rugers, and Vaquero. That's probably the number one gun in the game. I'm sure it still is. And a double barrel shotgun doesn't have to run you very much. And I'll tell you what, people are really good about just letting you use theirs. So as long as you have a couple of revolvers, and you probably ought to have a rifle, although someone would probably lend you that too. Maybe even ammo. So people are really good in those matches, really helpful to each other. But to compete, you need to have a double barrel shotgun, one that does not eject the shells, and an 1897 or replica thereof, or what is that other gun, the lever shotgun, 1887, right? That one. There's not many of those around. There are more replicas of it though now. So that's another gun that's used some. What else? Of course, your pistol firing rifle of 18th, 19th century design. Some of the popular ones there are the Marlin, like the 94s, or the Uberti. Well, the Winchester 73 is really popular. Any of the reproductions of that gun are very, very popular. And the 1892 replicas of that gun generally are pretty popular. There's more of those being made now. So anyway, when I thought about doing it, I was thinking at first I had the pistols, the revolvers, but I did not have the rifle. I thought I did at first. I had the 4570 of the 1886, and then I realized you had to have a pistol cartridge. And that's one reason I didn't get into it for about a year or two, because I thought, wow, I need to buy a pistol firing or a pistol cartridge firing rifle. What am I ever going to do with that? Why do I even want that? And everyone I'd seen was expensive. I looked at the Marlins and I thought, wow, $600-700 just to compete? A gun that I wouldn't use for anything else. And I really just put off getting into it for a while because of that. But I don't know, one day I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and I bit the bullet, picked up a Marlin, and no, I looked at it there. Actually, I bought it in Nashville, come think of it. But I picked up, still have it, that 45 Colt Marlin that you've seen, and that's what I started out with. I had a see what else I had, a Schofield replica, and I had an old Colt. So I had kind of a mix of guns, and for a shotgun I had double barrel Rossi hammer gun. Went and tried it, but it was a lot of fun. And of course my big surprise was the Marlin Model 94, not just a gun for cowboy shooting. That turned into being one of my favorite guns. Isn't that funny? That wasn't all that long ago. Well, it was about 13-14 years ago, but all the years before that I'd been shooting, and I didn't realize how much fun a lever gun like that was. Firing a 45 or 44 just hadn't really occurred to me. But that is, you've seen the videos, man. I enjoy those things a lot. Anybody that has one does. It's not just a competition gun. In fact, I dressed it up. I put those Skinner sights on it, and I can shoot it better. I can't use it in a match with those on it, so I quit using it in matches. But anyway, so that's what you need. I kind of got off topic maybe. But it's a lot of fun. And of course, you're dressed. Most places require you to have cowboy boots and a hat. I think a long sleeve shirt. It just depends. I believe that has changed some. I think maybe some of the regulations on that have loosened up a little bit. Not that you couldn't, just barely get by anyway. Some clubs, big clubs, established clubs, you've got a lot of people that look like they're right off a Hollywood set, which is kind of tough when it's 95 degrees and humid. But I noticed the last few matches I went to, it seemed like there were more people wearing blue jeans. They didn't really have blue jeans in the 1860s. With pockets and buttons and all that. So a lot of people, wear those who is it, Wanamaker, whatever. There's a lot of companies that make those authentic clothing styles from the 1800s, and a lot of people buy those. And I think when I first started, at least the club I started in, you kind of people look at you if you're wearing blue jeans, like, you didn't get the memo, huh? But I believe the last few matches I attended, there were more people in blue jeans and just being a little more casual, even the guy who ran the place. So, but anyway, you check out where you're going to shoot and kind of get a feel for that, where you're going to try it. But you do need a cowboy hat, preferably a long sleeve shirt, bandana, some boots, blue jeans, and you look pretty cowboyish, Take your guns, go try it. Someone will lend you a shotgun, I guarantee you. Maybe you and a friend between you can piece together those 4 guns, So anyway, just a kind of a hint. And then the caliber I didn't talk about. I shot 45 and everything, except the shotgun, of course. But a lot of people shoot 38 special, 357. Trying to reduce the recoil and the expense. But those are the 2 most popular calibers probably. And then there's some purists shooting 44-40 too, of course. And you can load up black powder cartridges like I did the last, 5, 6, 7 years that I did it very often. A lot of fun, can be expensive. Just do a little research, find out where they're shooting, go watch a match is my recommendation. Watch a match or 2, talk to some folks. They're really nice folks. Almost 100% of the time will help you out, and try it out if you think you would like to do it. Just a couple of house cleaning issues I wanted to mention that really don't pertain to many of you if you're listening to this radio show probably. But I get more and more comments on the channel about the old videos and wanting to see me do certain videos with certain guns that I actually have done. I just encourage everybody to look through the playlist. Again, I probably have some things hanging out there I haven't put in a playlist, but be a project this summer. But there are playlists on a lot of guns that you maybe just don't realize, especially if you're newer to the channel. You really need to check the playlist. There's a lot of stuff in there, and it's somewhat organized. Yeah, I still get a lot of questions about pricing. Remember, I don't. Or it's kind of funny. I'll get a comment, question on a video. Where'd you get that gun? It's a gun I've had for like 8 years or 10 years. Like it doesn't really matter where I got it. If I bought it 3 weeks ago, they might not have another one. And and what price is it? Check the manufacturer's suggested retail. Check. I was going to mention this. The reason I wanted to mention this is some of you may not be familiar with in checking prices. Sometimes you don't get a good reading if you go to the manufacturer's website on exactly what they're selling for. What I do is I'll go to the auction sites like Gun Broker, and I'll just look for several guns that have sold or are for sale, and there's a buy it now price or whatever. Anyway, what guns are actually selling for and what the price is if you buy it now, and look at several, and you can kind of get an idea, get a feel. Go to some of the other online gun dealers. What's the guy up in Kentucky? Bud's Gun Shop, I think, and there's some others. Just look around, see what they're selling for, what the asking price is. And that's the best thing to do, really, better than even checking with the manufacturer, I guess. So some of you may not be aware of that. Most of you, again, listening to this show, you're pretty, most of you probably pretty gun savvy and been around a little bit, but not everybody necessarily. I may have hooked in a lot of new shooters to this little crazy radio show, right? And what else was on that topic, just on comments and things. Well, I'm not going to get into all that. There's just too much you could talk about with comments and things on the videos. And generally speaking, what you have to remember, what I try to remember, is that anybody sitting anywhere on the planet with an internet connection, of course, can make a comment, and so it doesn't necessarily represent even 0.1%. You don't know what it represents. But everything goes pretty well on those for the most part. I will ask you all to continue helping me. Let me know if there's something too bizarre in a comment, and help me vote people off the island or whatever, because I don't see them all. So appreciate that. I wanted to talk about choosing between 2 different guns, or among 3 different guns for that matter. So often I'm asked which I would choose between a couple of different models or a couple of different types of firearms, and then even in videos where I will compare some different guns. Maybe it's 2 different pistols, 2 different firearms, or maybe it'll have a table of 4 or 5. I don't know. People seem to be wanting me to vote a winner, so to speak, and just as they want me to tell them which gun is best, to buy. And of course, I've talked about that. What the heck does best mean for you, and everything. What I really want to address here, though, is the purpose. What I see as my purpose. I don't know, purpose might be a little lofty term there, but as far as what my angle is in doing the videos and bringing out several firearms, like maybe 3 or 4 of the different little 9mm single stack guns, pocket guns, or whatever it is I'm showing and describing and demonstrating. I really just want to give you an idea of what these guns are like, my impressions on how they shoot, how they feel. That's really what I'm doing, and pointing out features that you might like or you might not like, features that I like or characteristics of the gun I don't like. That's really what I'm doing, and then that's just to kind of give you an idea. I'd put them side by side, do a little measuring, and give you some of the basics of it, and shoot them. You just have to kind of weigh all that and take it with a grain of salt. My limitations, my biases. Having large hands is something you always want to keep in mind with me, because a gun that I don't like might be the gun that fits you really well. Maybe the grip is something I don't like, the way it feels, or the trigger. And it might be a lot better for someone with smaller hands, So you always have to factor that in. And of course, my Glock bias, you have to factor that in. So, it's not like my great uncle started the company or anything. It's just I shoot Glocks better, and this for a lot of reasons. I prefer Glocks over most other pistols. However, the margin is not extreme. There are a few that come pretty close. And so, anyway, I just wanted to kind of point out that I'm not really necessarily about voting a winner or choosing a winner when I'm comparing a couple of guns, at the end of the video. And the winner is, I choose this one. This is the gun you should buy. I'm really not going to do much of that. There could be an occasion where I will mention that this is my preference or something, but, that's really for you to decide. I'm trying to give you a look at them, fairly objective look at differences in weight, and how they shoot and how they feel and maybe how they're made and just various things. And of course, some things just happen. You just see, how well maybe I shoot one gun over another, and maybe something breaks on it. I don't know. It's kind of the real TV sort of thing in some ways, but then again, if something breaks, that can happen at any point, and that's a bit of an aberration. Not necessarily indicative of what that particular gun's going to always do, right? I don't have Glocks that break. The Glocks just seem to know how to break. But I could be shooting one of my favorite Glock 27s or something, and the front sight fall off. Well, does that mean that you can't trust the front sight on a Glock? No, because for 25 years I've never had it happen, but it could happen in a video. So anyway, you just have to weigh everything and take it all into account. And one thing too, you might want to factor in. Because I do shoot Glocks so much. Of course, I've been shooting a lot of everything in the last couple of years. But when I shoot a different gun, I'm shooting a Glock, I'm shooting an M&P, or I'm shooting a Ruger or something right all there together, switching back and forth, that does make a difference. I'd like to think I can pick up anything and shoot it as well as it can be shot, at least by me. But that probably does make a difference more than I would like to admit. If I just put all my guns away and I had nothing at my disposal but, say, the Smith & Wesson M&P 40C that I have. I shot it, 100, 200 times a week, carried it, shot it, several months. I might not be able to miss with it. I might be able to shoot it even better than my Glock 23 or 27 or one of my other pet guns, Glock 19. I don't know. So always keep that in the back of your mind. Just because one gun doesn't seem to shoot as well, quote unquote, in a video, it's just what you're seeing. It's just what you're seeing. I'm definitely not trying to make any gun look bad. I will promise you that. Whenever I pull the trigger, I don't want to ever miss with any gun. Now, I know I shoot too fast, get fooling around, but I don't ever want to miss. I plan to hit every shot I take, and want to hit every shot I take. I'm shooting at those animals, whatever the pistol in my hand, I would love to not miss one time. I don't care if it's my least favorite gun. I could be shooting the cheapest Kel-Tec at those animals. I want to hit them every time. I'd love it. Jump for joy. So I will never intentionally make a gun look bad. My goal is to make them all look good and show what they can do, and it almost doesn't matter what gun you have. Just learn to shoot the thing and spend some money on ammo. I get pretty many questions about reloading, hand loading, and I will answer most of those if it's pretty brief and you're not asking for loads, specific loads, and that kind of thing. One thing I tell people is that I really don't have time to become, I don't have time to become the reloading guru. I really don't. The channel has grown and blossomed, and it's so active, and I'm still trying to keep up with a lot of the questions and things. And reloading is a whole nother area that I don't have time to just address the reloading issues, the many questions that come up. I should do maybe some more videos on it, but I do have the reloading playlist. A lot of people don't seem to realize that, and that covers some of the very basics. Again, I'm biased on reloading machines. It's just Dillon's like at the top, and then there are other good ones too, but you cannot beat a Dillon. It's a good place to start if you can afford to do it. But there's just so many things that you have to look up. You really owe it to yourself, and I owe it to you not to tell you too much about it. You need to grab some manuals and search and study. It's one of the things that just requires a little bit of study. You need to. It's kind of like asking me to help you learn to be a brain surgeon or something, give you the essentials of how to go about doing it, the quick and easy method or something. There's a little bit of an exaggeration there, huh? But, you need to study it. You need to be meticulous. It's not to make it sound as though it's not for a lot of people, because it's really not that hard, but you do need to be meticulous. You need to study it. Be careful. If you're the kind of person, if you're a bull in a china shop kind of person, maybe you don't want to do it. But because it's like being a nurse, a doctor, or something. You need to double and triple check what you're doing. Checking your loads, and if there's any hint in your mind that you did something wrong as you're loading and working the press. That, did I have powder? Was the powder measure working? I just adjusted it. Was it dropping powder? Was it not dropping powder? Those sorts of things. Did I double charge that case? Hey, you can't have any of that. It's an endeavor where you have to be perfect, just like shooting. You can't be unsafe one time, and you can't have a problem. You cannot have a problem reloading even one time. That's your goal. Not even one time. So you're watching everything you're doing. Consistency is the key, because there's only one thing worse than a double charge of powder, and that's no powder in the case. I'm not sure which is worse. There are some guns that will handle a double charge. They might not. But you may have a hand grenade go off in your hand. But what happens with a squib load, as we call it, if you have no powder in the case, those are easy to load. You bypass somehow if you're not paying close attention, and you end up with no powder in your case. Then you pull the trigger, the primer goes off, generally makes no sound or not enough. Since you have ear protection on, you don't hear it. It's just a click. So you think the chamber was empty. So you may cock the gun again. If it's a revolver, you shoot again, and guess what? You might be shooting at a bullet that's in your barrel, lodged in your barrel. Very, very bad. That's why in competitions, someone shoots, click, the range officer in IPSC is supposed to stop the person immediately, because your natural inclination is, the gun was empty, and you fire again. Rack the slide, whatever. Well, what could happen is the primer has just enough power to put the bullet into the barrel, and it does it quietly. That's the weird thing about it. It's not like a poof. It's very quiet, and you just think it was a misfire, but your barrel is plugged, and I don't have to tell you what kind of excitement that would cause if you send another bullet down that barrel. So anyway, those are the kinds of things that you could get into, and so reloading is for someone who is pretty meticulous, very careful, is not afraid to do a little study, double, triple check loads, and if you have that kind of demeanor, approach to things, just study up on it, and it's not that hard. So, but anyway, I can't become the reloading guru and answer because there must be 1,000 questions that would come to my mind right now as I stand here and look at the press. I'm looking at my Dillon and thinking, if I didn't know much about this, I'd have 1,000 questions, and so I can't really deal with all of those. But anyway, check out my reloading videos, and some of the basics are covered there, and then just start studying it and figure out what loads people are using. There are generally on the forums, shooting forums, there are reloading threads, categories. I know Glock Talk has one. I think the Firing Line probably does. I'm not sure. You just ask around, take your time. There's no rush. Maybe set up for one caliber, get it right, figure out what powder other people are using, and study the manuals and look what loads are, say, moderate loads. Don't want to start with a hot load, that kind of thing. And just be very, very careful and try a few. So, about all I have to say about that. And you guessed it, it's time for the gun action of the week. Well, several people got last week's. That was maybe one of the easier ones. Not that any of them are too easy. But that was a very distinctive firearm. A double barrel stagecoach shotgun. Yes. Nice, huh? Yep, that's what it was. And as I say, many of you got it. One of my favorite guns to shoot. Gosh, there's nothing more special than a short double barrel shotgun. Love those things. Love those things. And that was the Rossi external hammer. You heard it cocked and broken down, I think. So, this week, I also have something a little different, not dramatically. So, let's see if you can tell what it is. It's a gun you've not seen a lot of. Are you ready? I'm going to snap it one time. Okay, I'm going to pull the trigger. And I guess that's about all, the only sound I can make. Well, here's one other sound I could make if you can hear it. So let me fumble fingers here. That might have told you a little bit. I don't know. Okay. So that was it. It is a firearm. And a fun firearm. This particular one has some special significance for me. So I guess that's all I'll say right now. I'll just let you struggle with that one. Before we wrap up for the week, I thought I'd tell you about a gun I used to have. Okay? I'll run out of these eventually. Well, let's see. I was not out of college yet. Just about. Scraped up, I think it was about $140, something like that. And bought my first centerfire handgun. It was a revolver. It was a Blackhawk, a Ruger Blackhawk in .45 Colt. Pretty appropriate for me, huh? My very first. I did have a little 22 long rifle before that, my first handgun that I bought. But this was my first centerfire gun. Yeah, gun, period. Of course, centerfire. And shot those big, sexy .45 Colt cartridges. Wow. I had to have one of those as soon as I could get a little money together and get out of school. Wanted to start my life with a .45 Colt. This was not a Colt, but it was a Ruger, same cartridge. It was one of the old ones, because this was in the early 70s, before they went to the transfer bar and the different kind of action. With most Rugers you're familiar with, and single action. This was a single action revolver, Cowboy style. Most of them that you're familiar with, you can just open the loading gate, and that will enable you to spin the cylinder. Well, back in the day, up until, I don't know, mid-70s, late 70s, they were like the Colt, the traditional Colt. You cock the hammer halfway, that would release the cylinder. So, the same type thing. You load 5 instead of 6 because the hammer would rest on the primer, and so it'd be easy to have a misfire if you dropped it or something. In fact, as I understand, that's what led Ruger to change the action and put the instruction manual, on the barrel and all that stuff. Sometime, I believe in the 70s, story I always heard was someone was going to shoot and the gun rolled off the truck seat onto the floor and went off and shot the guy. And in settling the lawsuit, they agreed to do all that or something. I don't know. May all be a myth, but that's the story I heard that went around at the time. But anyway, it was a sexy gun. I loved that gun. It was my first big hog leg. It had a 7.5-inch barrel, or whatever the Ruger had. I think their long gun it may have just been 7 inches. I'm not sure I forgot what the Ruger was. The Colts were 7.5. It was about like that. Big old .45 Colt. Man, I remember buying cartridges. You could buy them at the time, buy like a half a box or buy the cartridge. And I remember buying like 10, I think, when I bought the gun. And they were expensive. I think a box, though, of 50 was $4. But man, at that time, I didn't have any money. And so it was whatever that comes out per shot. But it was an expensive thing to shoot when all you'd been shooting in your life were 22 rimfire, for a penny a shot or something. So that was it. That was my first centerfire. And of course, we all have those sad stories. I traded it off. I think for a Ruger Super Blackhawk in .44 Magnum. I just had to have a .44 Magnum, and that's where that gun went. Wish I could get it back, but it was a nice gun, and I had a lot of enjoyment out of it. Didn't probably shoot it more than 200-300 times the whole time I had it, because I didn't get as many rounds down range at the time. I'm sure I had a flinch at the time when I did shoot it. But I loved it. Sweet gun. I guess better wrap up and let y'all get back to some work. How's that? So I've enjoyed chatting with you and making up a bunch of lies for you here in the reloading room, where there's nothing like the ambiance of, oh man, how many thousands of pieces of brass, a couple of axes hanging around. I don't keep guns out here in the shed, of course, but anything of real value. But there's enough hanging around, odds and ends, bullets to load, and powder and things like that, presses, holsters here and there, maybe a knife or two, just to keep it sweet, create the correct environment so that you can get your mind right when you come out to load some ammunition. But anyway, I hope you all get a chance to shoot this week. At least search around for some firearms, ammunition, that sort of thing. Have some fun. and do what you can to keep us looking good. You know, there's always going to be somebody, as we see on the internet, you know, even on YouTube, that doesn't represent us too well. But we need to really, really focus on that. Gun business is going strong. Gun shops opening up all over the place. You hear a lot more commercials, don't you, on the radio, on TV for firearms, becoming more mainstream, and that means more and more people are getting into it. And you know, in some ways, we have people can be a little bit more rude than they used to be. I think most of us would agree to that. So anyway, we need to keep emphasizing to our fellow shooters to be good citizens and to represent the sport well, so that we can continue in it, and it will continue to grow. So that's my sage advice from the wise Hickok. So you guys have a great week, and I'll chat with you later. You've been listening to the Hickok 45 radio show. See you on the range.